Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Monday night for the ISRC Alaria Productions Truck Series Season 6 playoffs begin tonight. The drivers try to tackle a super speedway style course at Atlanta for the start of the round of 16 and race 1 of 2. Tonight's race is the Careful I Don't Have Insurance 225 presented by Moarcast, but it's such a crucial start to the playoffs. 16 drivers enter in tonight's adventures, and we will see how many of them can truly survive tonight's race because it's expected to be a chaotic one. Again, thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth is going to be Zach Hall. And Zach, it's the start of another playoffs. The hunt for the championship is on, and what a track to start it off at.
Exactly, Sam. What a track to start it off at. It is going to be quite the brawl, so to say, once we drop this green flag. I mean, drivers just getting into qualifying now, and personally, this qualifying, yeah, it's going to help to get track position. This place here in Atlanta, this 1.5 mile, now considered almost a super speedway with the style of racing you see around this track with the higher bankings. It's going to be pack racing all the way around, and I tell you what, it's going to be a log jam of traffic that these drivers are going to try to fight their way through, and put on top of that, playoff race.
This is so much pressure mounting up for this being the playoff race. This first round of the playoffs, so the round of 16, is here at Atlanta. Next week at Bristol. We'll touch more on the rest of the playoff schedule after qualifying's done. But currently on the board, drivers are getting ready for their first times laps, and you better get used to that type of scheme on screen. The colors will change, but the COD truck, the Cody Reed schemes are going to be shown out here tonight. There's about 13 trucks that are out there honoring Cody's mom, who's recovering after some medical issues, and they all decided to bring in a little bit of fun and flair to honors Cody's mom. And as they're trying to have fun here tonight, the drivers get ready to see who's going to have the top spot on the board as first laps are clocking in. It's going to be GT Rosari currently top of the board.
Good lap from GT here is, I think, the second lap more than likely will be that quicker one, so we'll get to see, you know, who is going to be putting down those, so to say, burner laps. And you know, qualifying again, like I said, it can be important. This is not a very wide track with it being a mile and a half, but I don't think it's going to be too important. You got 140 laps. If you start at the rear of the field, you're just going to have to be very patient and methodical if you want to work your way through. But you see him here coming around, Tyler Dingler on his second lap. He's going to cut that tri-oval, and it looks like that 19 is going to go to fourth on the board right now with Ali Fonseca leading the times.
Joshua Kanata now going to be the new top dog with a 32.291 for himself, as Tyler Dingler trying to set up for this lap. I know that was something I was talking to some of the drivers entering during the practice, and they all said they actually all didn't know how qualifying was going to go. They knew the race was going to be important, but getting on top of the board, they didn't know if it was the first lap, second lap, where to run. And to see Tyler Dingler using the apron, we're going to be seeing that a lot here tonight, as Danny Cochran's now the new top dog with a 32.267. That's 24 thousandths of a second faster than Joshua Kanata, as other drivers are trying their fates to see if they can touch the top of the board. Is Nick Crawford, one of our top drivers to watch out for here this season, trying to go for his second ever championship. Zach, I think Nick Crawford, strong contender, very good at super speedway style courses. Here tonight, though, he wants to start out well to start the playoffs off.
Very interested to see what his lap time will be, because always one of the better super speedway qualifiers, in my opinion, is this 74 Nick Crawford, and coming in with the most momentum of anybody I think he does have. And that right there, I believe he's going to place him at the fourth. So he's going to go up there with this team that's a Cody Reed, John Forbes, and himself. So 2, 3, 4 for Snowy Desert is right now. Danny Cochran still holding on by 5 thousandths of a second.
It's going to be so important to find teammates. You think back to the one and only time that this series ran here at this configuration of Atlanta, all the way back in season 3. Christopher Norris had help from his Snowy Desert teammates to take his first ever career win in this series. And it was also Cody Reed who was fighting to try to take that one away with his own teammates from that former Blackjack Racing team. I think some drivers know you have to find your teammates, and having those teammates around one another will be so crucial, as Jared Talmadge, one of the last drivers to take a playoff spot after last week's race at Las Vegas. The 10 didn't have the first lap that he was hoping for, and his second lap just outside of the top 10, 11th, will be this 10 machine.
11th right there on the board, and still a long race. Jarrett's going to have plenty of opportunity to go forward, and he's definitely been a contender, so to say, week in and week out here lately. But 30 seconds left on the board. Looks like Joshua Free, Martin Morales are not going to be out here pulling out the takeout time lap. So looks like our board's going to stay the same, as Danny Cochran's going to hold on to the pole position, and it's going to be a good thing to lead the field. Also have that track position on pit road. If we get some late cautions, that last pit stall could come in handy.
Yeah, having that last stall, trying to win off a pit road if we're under caution, as we will have a stage break here tonight at the end of lap 30. But if we look back to that season 3 run, a total of 7 cautions were thrown, 14 different leaders, but 61 lead changes during that race all the way back in season 3. I think we're expecting something very similar here tonight as warm-ups now begin. And let's give us time to take a look at our point standings entering here tonight. 16 drivers made it to the playoffs. And the 16 drivers running, top of the board goes to Vincent Sora, Nick Crawford, John Forbes. The extra bonus points were given to our top 10 points positions based off of where you finished at the end of the regular season. And then there were some extra bonus points, 5 bonus points for each win that you grabbed. That's why we find Vincent Sora top of the board with having over a 40-point buffer to the drivers that are on that 11th place tie of everyone else that finished outside of the top 10 and didn't find themselves with a win.
Very, very good gap for sure for Vincent Swords. Those drivers farther back with, like you said, that didn't build up those points there, Sam, from 11th on back. But see a lot of opportunity. I mean, even the likes of Jared Talmadge, who barely just, scraped in there, getting in 16th. He's going to have an opportunity here to possibly get into the next round. One of those drivers, but someone even like Aaron Kralik, Dakota Moniz, 2 really good drivers that could possibly win on a super speedway. That if they were, say, to get a win tonight, it would make Bristol that much more important for a lot of these drivers that are going to be around that cut line.
Another thing of note with the standings, outside of the top 16, there's still another battle. It's the best of the rest. The driver after the playoffs are done that is in 17th place of those that are not running in the playoffs can find themselves with a reward as well. So there are technically 2 championships that are being ran, but I know ultimately the top 16, they want to become the season 6 champion. As we move away from our point standings, take a look at what the final races are of this season. We've got our first round, the round of 16 we have here tonight at Atlanta, next week at Bristol, before we cut it down to just 12 drivers in our round of 12, where we find ourselves with drivers at Kansas. And at the Roval will be that second round. Round number 3, we head to Legacy, Texas, and Iowa before we cut it down to our final 4 that will run for a championship at Homestead. Looking at it, Zach, probably the most chaotic round is this first one, and most likely the second round these drivers head into.
You're right, Sam. It kind of steps down from chaoticness. So it's the first round, I think, is definitely the one I think everybody circled to say, I need to get through that first round before anything, because these 2 races could be really anything can happen here. You can get caught up in anybody's trouble. If you get to that next round, though, you got the Roval, of course, in there. That's going to play a tricky situation. But if you can get to that 3rd round to be able to possibly get a shot to go be in the final 4 at Homestead, you're going to have Legacy, Texas, and Iowa. It's going to be quite the playoffs for us, Sam. I'm excited, man.
Cannot wait for it as we're in our final 2 minutes of warm-up time. Again, the warm-up period for the drivers, get a little bit more practice and figure out where their pit stalls are. Allows us to take a look at our pick'ems for tonight, as we will start off, I think, with my pick for this evening. Touched on the fact that there's going to be a ton of Cody Reed schemes out. I think for Cody Reed, he's got a little bit of extra momentum that he's trying to carry forward, trying to get his first ever oval win. He won at Watkins Glen a few seasons ago, but tonight could be the time for him to win. That's my my official pick. Unofficial pick, I think we might be seeing just a Cody Reed scheme in general might be winning here this evening.
That's a good way to think, Sam, for sure. They got the odds on their side, for sure. I think with my pick tonight, though, but I have to go for the first time I think I picked him this season, Danny Cochran in the 2 machine, because just have a feeling he sits on pole. So that kind of makes me a little more confident even. And I just have a feeling that the 2 is going to be the driver in victory lane tonight. He always seems to really turn it up another notch when it goes into this playoffs.
And our final pick going to be our producer, Robert Moyer Jr., as he will be picking Joshua Kanata in the 16 machine. Not a bad pick. Think back to last season's playoffs, the Super Speedway at Talladega. It was Kanata who found himself getting through the chaos. Might need a similar amount of luck and skill to do so, but I like our 3 picks that we have here this evening. Zach, I think Kanata's not a bad pick for our producer here, Robert Moyer Jr.
I love that pick actually, because I think Kanata is like one of those sleeper guys in this playoffs. You know, if he gets the ball rolling, you never know. He could be going all the way to the Homestead.
He certainly can be a driver to watch out for as the playoffs begin here tonight at Atlanta Super Speedway. Also, quick shout out to Larry Art Productions, our title sponsor for the ISRC Truck Series, and Hot Lap Threads, our qualifying grid sponsor, and also our sponsor for tonight's race and the stage-winning sponsor of Moarcast. We'll touch more on those sponsors here very shortly as ISRC Larry Art Productions playoffs. I know all these drivers always wait for this moment. Zach, we've got 4 drivers trying to go for their first ever chance to become a 2-time champ in this series. I cannot wait to see how it's all gonna come down to Homestead. Could all 4 of those drivers make it, or could someone be the Cinderella story? It all starts now. As the warm-ups conclude, the grid starts. It's time to see where our drivers will be beginning here tonight. Who's got the top spot? If you watch from our grid, you already know who that driver is, who also is our grid sponsor, Hot Lap Threads. Hot Lap Threads is your racing lifestyle, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Go on over to Hot Lap Threads today to match your racing apparel with a great racing day. Go to hotlapthreads.com to check out their wide selection. As taking the pole award here this evening, it's the 2 machine of Danny Cochran. Second place at the outside, it's going to be the 25 of Cody Reed. With an identical time in third is John Forbes in the 11. Going to be in that 3rd place position. Thomas Green will be starting in 4th position. Nick Crawford in 5th. 6th is Joshua Kanata. Justin Campbell 7th. Ethan Smith 8th. 9th we find the 24 of Ollie Fonseca. And finishing out our top 10 we find Vincent Sora all the way down there. He's going to be having a little bit of work to do here, Zach.
That he does. Starting in 11th is Jarrett Talmadge right behind Vincent Sora. That playoff driver just got in. 12th is going to be Aaron Kralik. 13th position here in qualifying is going to go to Mason Cassidy. 14th is going to be the 6 Justin Smith. 15th is going to be the 14 of GT Arizari. 16th in qualifying is going to be the 73 of Justin Malarkey. In 17th, it's going to be the 19 of Tyler Dingler. 18th position is going to be held by Dakota Moniz. 19th is going to be the 50th Samuel Garcia, and rounding out our top 20 is Ryan Ferraro.
In 21st, we find the 7 machine of Cedric Hunter. In 22nd place, it's the 26 of Tyler Horn. Christopher Norris will start all the way back in 23rd position. Mark Morales Jr. will start all the way back in 24th. And the 39 of Joshua Freed will start in 25th. As drivers are griding up and about to be leaving from pit road, some odd complications. John Forbes has disconnected from this race. He's got to be trying to get connected back in, but most likely the 11 will have to start in pit road. That's going to be a tough start, especially on the fact that John Forbes, one of those drivers that was hoping for at least a solid day. Yes, he's 3rd in points coming into tonight, but he doesn't have a large margin of bonus points like we see from Vincent Sora and Nick Crawford.
You're exactly right. He didn't build up that, 4 wins like those 2 did. He only had that 1 win this regular season, and man, that's going to really hurt John Forbes. And yeah, we're still yet to see him connect back to the server. We're all going to be crossing our fingers that he can get back in here, at least start from pit road and not lose like a lap, so to say, because more than likely to that lap 30 stage, if he does start on pit road, he possibly could lose a lap just due to not being in the draft pack. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get back in here, Sam, but tough break for one of our major contenders and one of our past champions.
Past champions is going to be tough for him. Also going to be starting at the rear of the field. Joshua Kanata given an end-of-the-line penalty to start this race off, so he'll be mired back with a lot of other playoff contenders. We're seeing a major difference. Some playoff contenders wanting to be up front, others deciding to start in the back. Those that are stuck in the middle, not the safest place to be, but everyone's ready to get to playoff racing action here this evening. Again, thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Like, share, subscribe, get ready for some great racing action as the ISRC Lariat Production Truck Series playoffs for Season 6 about to begin for the careful I Don't Have Insurance 225 presented by Moarcast. We are green for Danny Cochran as well as Cody Reed as they roar down into turn number 1, 2x2, all the way through as 25 drivers take the green.
Great start from that front row because it's almost dead even with Cochran with the help of Crawford now going to be able to take almost a nose ahead of that 25, but down the back straightaway, let's see if the outside line can return, and they will, as right now the 25 will read with the head of steam.
Going to have the run on the outside groove as the two of Danny Cochran going to be on the inside for himself, having Nick Crawford as well as Justin Campbell on the inside, and get a little bit of familiar, a little nostalgic, you could say, seeing Cody Reed, Ethan Smith, former teammates from that Blackjack Racing team, ripping the top where they were. They're back in Season 3, and seeing Nick Crawford in a pretty similar spot on the inside, though he is pushing a different car than I think he wants to, which is Danny Cochran on that inside.
Definitely wishes he was with his teammates, but Cody Reed makes the big aggressive move, drops down to the bottom here, and covers off that two of Danny Cochran. Now going to take control of this race lead. It's going to be Thomas Green leading the outside line, like I said, with the help of the 99 and Ethan Smith up top. We'll see if this outer groove can start to work its way forward. Also, along with Aaron Kralik in that third car on the outside.
Fastest lap, going to give that to Jesse Thornock, and drivers further on back going to get that faster laps because they're going to have the extra assistance from the draft space to build up their momentum. But the drivers up front going to be staying 2x2. How many times, though, will we see 3 wide? It's wide enough to do so. Not expecting drivers really make those big moves here early on. But a big thing also of note to watch out for, the apron, the front stretch. Zach, they made it through that time, but that front stretch is probably going to be one of the more dangerous spots of the track, if not the corners.
That it will be, Sam. That place opens up opportunity, and it also opens up the possibility of contact because much wider is that front straightaway, and it tightens as it gets down to these corners and through the back straightaway. So you got to really make a move decisive, because if not, you will be heading off into turn 1 with no decisions made.
And drivers were notified on restarts, it's after you cross start finish line, that you can utilize the apron. But while in green flag conditions, the apron is free of use. You can go down there whenever you want, but it's up to you to have the safe transition back on track. As the driver is back on course, John Force 3 laps down, but at least is out on track with missing the grid in the start of the race. It's a tough start for the 11, but at least he's put down a lap. That means he's at least going to get last place points if he disconnects again.
That's exactly right, Sam. At least he's going to score points. So, if you don't get that lap in, you have 0 points going on this, and that would be a way bigger hole to climb out of for John Ford. So he's going to score some type of points with that connection and completion of a lap. But, man, I tell you what, we had Ryan Ferraro get super sideways down in 1 and 2. That kind of caused a little bit of separation for our field. We've had a few guys kind of lose the pack, and I look back to the likes like Cedric Hunter, almost 4 seconds behind this second pack, or first pack.
Has lost time, but I think it's a choice for a lot of these drivers. I mean, some of them decided to qualify back here, didn't have the best qualifying run, but obviously just taking it easy at this moment. It's Tyler Horton now going to be trying to go on the outside and lead this second pack as they continue to be the smaller group and expected to be much slower than the lead pack, which they're running about, I would say, a half a second to a full second slower is our first pack compared to the second, as Cedric Hunter, as well as getting help from Ollie Fonseca, that's Mark Morales trying to make their push forward with the different colors and schemes. It's going to be interesting for us to keep up with, but it's fun that these drivers are testing out 13 drivers all using the same Cody Reed scheme, just a little variance in colors.
shade differences in each color, and yeah, it's definitely making our jobs definitely a a little bit harder than normal weeks where we're used to the regular schemes. But hey, this is what we get paid to do, so we're out here having fun. So right now, you can see up this front pack, this is starting to get a little bit mixy. That 24 Ali Fonseca, he took really the first look I've seen anybody do on the inside of the apron, and that was to the inside of Vincent Sora. So this could get very, very aggressive here as we close closer to that lap 30 stage, because people know those 10 points, valuable bonus points that given out could be the difference between you moving on next week.
And here we go. Over the radio, John Forbes saying he is holding the bottom. The rest of the field's going to have to move up, getting by lap traffic. At least everyone knows where they need to be, but going 3 wide with a slower car, exiting the corner is going to be a little bit more difficult as Cody Reed has to move up, and everyone trying to get by John Forbes. Slight contact of Danny Cochran to Cody Reed, but they keep it together as the 11 stays low, and then we're seeing our first sign of 3 wide racing up front.
3 wide here. No, there's going to be a truck up into the outside wall. Justin Smith, and that was the lane I worried about the most. That third lane, it is so tough to stay out of that wall. This 1.5-mile configuration with Super Speedway, much different than Daytona and Talladega. You got to really be able to slow the car down and get it turned. And you're up on the outside groove. You have very little wiggle room to wash up the racetrack.
Currently up there is going to be Aaron Kralik, Ethan Smith, and moving back and forth is the 9 machine of Justin Campbell in the middle, and our leader, going to be Thomas Green, hoping for his best, but Ethan Smith almost on that outside wall, losing momentum as they'll try to fall back in line 2 by 2, as John Forbes is now back to 4 laps down for himself, but back to 2 by 2. I mean, Zach, this is something also. Super Speedway racing at Talladega, Daytona, tire wears in the trucks, not a big factor. But here tonight, as each lap ticks away, you can touch on a little bit more, but tire wear is going to be something very difficult we have to touch on as these laps progress forward, as we're almost halfway through this stage.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Sam, because that is a huge factor at this track. And personally, the one thing as a driver myself is my favorite thing about this racing surface is its 1.5-mile characteristics compared to Daytona and Talladega make it where handling becomes a major factor, and tire wear, like you said, becomes that huge factor. And you got to really make sure to keep the right front tire underneath you, because if that truck starts to get a little bit tight, anytime you tuck up behind someone, you're going to get even worse tight because of that aero loss on the nose. So it is a definite track that you can overwork the tire, and really you could be caught out struggling or end up in a wreck quickly by just your tires being overheated.
And when we're talking about drivers getting tight, it's when the car just doesn't want to turn. It feels like it's going completely straight when you enter these corners, and drivers have to use a little bit more wheel, and it just hurts the tires even more. So take a look at our weather conditions. Ambient air temperature going to be 74 degrees. Track temp 91 degrees. Winds a little bit at that 7 to 9 miles per hour. We're going to watch how the directions swirl, but the humidity 69%. We'll see if that raises or lowers with the partly cloudy area that we're dealing with.
We'll have to see how that changes right now, as the track has definitely been under a good bit of shade for the past few laps, but this front group up here, they're not really too afraid to take moments, because up top it's that 11 of John Forbes. He's been the one making moves. He's trying to get that lap back the old-fashioned way. 4 laps down right now, Sam. He's going to need to get him back.
Yeah, he knows as long as he stays out of trouble at the time of our stage yellow, the 11 is the only one a lap down, and he would at least get 1 of his 4 laps back. Which, like I said, John Forbes wants to be the leader of this pack, so then he would get at least 1 lap and maybe 2 at the time of the yellow flag being thrown, as we are halfway through this stage. Stage yellow will be the end of lap 30. Top 10 drivers get bonus points, and everyone wants bonus points. Not just the playoff drivers, but even the non-playoff drivers with the extra incentive, as we'll be 3 wide for the lead. Green into the outside wall. Our first true calamity going to be drivers scattering, trying to keep it together. They're 2 wide in the front group. They'll keep it straight, but Sora losing big time there. But all drivers want to be inside the top 10 because of the incentive of the best of the rest that didn't make the playoffs.
Oh, man, there was some big moments there, and it really all started with Campbell in the 9. I mean, he moved from the bottom all the way to the top, and I think he just lost track of where he was at on the racetrack, drove straight into the outside wall in the front straightaway, and Fonseca had to do a basic maneuver that caused him to hit Vincent Sora, and everybody did a great job of gathering that up somehow, Sam. And we stay green, but Cody Reed back to the lead with that now, as Campbell's going to try to fight back around the outside.
I think what makes it even more impressive, we stay green, and almost all the drivers that were a part of that lead pack that all had to scatter, they're all still attached in the draft. Even with that debacle, that's even more impressive, I think, for this pack, is that everyone's still there. Top 17 drivers still attached. That second pack is still 18th, all the way down to 25th, that are just in cruise control and waiting just to survive until the end of the race.
Very interesting strategies being played out by a few there, especially with, the likes of like Cedric Hunter, Dakota Moniz back there, who are playoff contenders, and Kanata even. So, they're really giving up these stage points or hoping something happens up front here. And I think they might be on to something, because we still have a decent way to go before we get into 30. Anything's yet to happen. And if one big wreck happens up here, we can grab some quick track position.
11 laps to go before the stage is over. Top 10 drivers get bonus points, and the tire wear is showing as some drivers up front are right on board with Tyler Dangler, last driver in line of this lead pack. And Tyler Dangler frustrated with the way the playoffs, the rest of his regular season ended last week, just missing out on the playoffs, and here tonight just trying to continue his way again, with the incentive of the best of the rest contenders for these final 7 races. Kind of gives the 19 a chance to go race this thing out, but also gain a sense of what this lead pack is willing to do so early on in tonight's race with 10 laps to go on the stage.
I like where Tyler Dingler sits right now. Yeah, not in the playoffs, but he's, like you say, he's still got that opportunity to win the best of the rest championship. And I love where he sits even right now when it comes to this race too, because he's got the whole picture in front of him right now. If anything happens, he's got a lot of track behind him to slow down, and he can definitely gain if something does happen. We're going 3 wide. It looks like contact between the 74 and the 24 there through the center of the 1 and 2.
They are getting close with one another, as Ali Fonseca, and I believe that's actually going to be the 11 of John Forbes, getting close with one another. And John Forbes still trying to figure out a way to get in front of our top 6 and get at least one of the laps back, but it just looks impossible. And this is going to be good knowledge, I think, for the rest of the field, recognizing, okay, you get inside of the top 6, you need a bad bump if you're going to be taking any of these positions away. Otherwise, you're stalling out from 8th on back.
That you are. It's tough to make things happen, it seems like, because this track just clogs up so much. So this is where it becomes a track position fight. Sometimes it's just better to wait in that bottom line. As again, John Forbes flirted with the wall, just kind of scraped it. He's still trying to make something happen, but it's one of those tracks where sometimes you can just benefit from just riding the bottom and people jumping up and down. You can gain those positions, and slowly you'll be in position to be there at the right time. So sometimes it's patience, and sometimes it's knowing when to take those opportunities.
But speaking of slowing, starting to see some drivers slowing down a little bit more on the entry of these corners. Having some more big checkups from drivers outside of our top 6. John Forbes seeing an opportunity as he'll have Ethan Smith behind him, and seeing another sign of 3 wide action. I was looking at the blue 6 machine of Justin Smith as he was trying to make some moves forward, but also was giving a little bit of extra space to our top 6 and wiggling a lot. I got to watch out for this 6 machine. He looks the most unstable, even though he's running that inside groove.
He definitely looked a little bit unstable there, saying let's see if he can gather up. He was into that wall earlier when we went 3 wide, so now on the bottom, a little bit easier, but close to be making contact with him and Aaron Kralik, I believe.
Almost contact. They'll continue to almost beat and bang through the quad oval as they continue their way forward. Each lap ticks away. Now 5 laps to go to see who's going to be inside of our top 10 to get bonus points. And right now, some big names that are willing to grab some at least decent points for themselves. Mason Cassidy trying to grab that last bonus point. GT Rosarian 9th, as well as seeing Eric Kralik in 7th, Christopher Norris 6th, and the rest of our top 5 going to be drivers inside of our playoffs. The only driver that's not in the playoffs that's got a chance to grab some points is Justin Smith right now. Everyone else, they are all recognizing what the assignment is, and that's grab bonus points.
That they are. And, the closer we get to it here, as we come to 3 to go on this stage, the more they're going to be aggressive, especially the likes of Vincent Sora. Sora's not going to risk too much because he knows how much of a points gap he already had.
Oh, no.
Smith's a little bit loose again. He gathers it up.
Luckily, the apron is there in these trucks. It's not the friendliest place to be, but you can at least control the vehicle on the apron. That's exactly what Justin Smith does. Bounces out, gets out of the way. Now all 10 of our top 10 drivers are playoff contenders. As Smith bounces out, Sora slots his way in. The 15 trying to get back up front.
Here he comes, man. That's got to be what's on his mind right now, is to get some stage points, because a few points for him will really allow him to feel more and more comfortable heading to the end of this race and Bristol next week. So got to get the points while you can right now, as he's on the back of Aaron Kralik. It looks like maybe Ethan Smith thought about him to jump up to that third line. It's just going to be the question of who can make it work. It seems like that third line just hasn't worked yet. But side by side for that lead up front, Cochran and Reed side draft and might allow that third lane to happen.
Might allow it, but I think also the tire wear is at the point that no one feels comfortable to try to go to that third lane and try to give a bump off the exit of the corner. Instead, we'll stay in line side by side as they cross the line. This will be your stage coming to the end of the stage for these drivers. Last lap. Who's going to be inside the top 10? It's once the 10th driver crosses the line that we will be seeing that yellow flag be thrown, as Danny Cochran, Cody Reed stay 2 by 2. So does the rest of the field. It is all about who's going to get the better push off the exit of the corner. Reed's a nose ahead as they go through 3 and 4, but Cochran's going to have the momentum off the exit of the corner, but Justin Campbell's not there. Reed will have the nose, and Cody Reed going to take the caution, comes out, but I believe Cody Reed will have the lead at the time of the yellow flag being thrown.
I believe so also. It looks like, yeah, Reed across the line first there, Danny Cochran second, Jared Talmadge third. I believe also you might have had Christopher Morris, I believe, in the 4th position.
It was close. They scatter. They were willing to go 4 wide across the line. The yellow flag was thrown a little bit early, but I think it's just because they wanted to make sure the yellow flag was out before they enter turn 1. And it will be Cody Reed taking that slot as everyone else trying to get in the right positions that iRacing will gift them here, as Reed, Cochran, Talmadge will be your top 3 as they waited for the pace car, and expecting everyone entering pit road as the 25 luckily gets the positioning. That's some big points for Cody Reed, who was 7th in points entering tonight.
Huge points for sure for him. I mean, hey, anytime you can take 10 bonus points in an Atlanta Super Speedway race, you're going to want to take that, because now if anything does happen, at least he can fall back a little bit on those 10 points to allow him to have that wiggle room. But we'll see now what he can do here as he heads into his box.
And one driver willing to stay out for an extra lap. That's Joshua Kanata in the 16. He'll stay out to try to lead a lap and get that bonus point for himself, as Cody Reed's getting service done. Some drivers, 2 tires, trying to advance their positions. And it's going to be looking like Cody Reed, first driver out that took service, as Martin Morales Jr. is going to have to come back into pit road the next lap.
That looks like is Cody Reed winning that race off of pit road. That's huge for him after that stage victory. Now going to have the track position and be in control of the field.
As we are going to see if we can queue up the 25 of Cody Reed, as he has been one of the lead drivers up front and hoping for a good run for himself. We'll see if we can queue up the 25, though. Cody, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, Cody, you will be the Moarcast stage winner here tonight. You've been leading up front since the drop of the green. How is that truck feeling being up front right now?
Feels good. It was getting kind of loose towards the end of the run. I think everyone was getting really loose on corner entry, especially turn 3 with that little dip. But actually getting out and leading and everything feels pretty good. You got the usual super speedway competitors up here, so it's kind of a familiar feeling up here. You know, I won the stage at Daytona earlier this season, and what was a pretty similar finish, pretty close finish at the line. So having a ton of fun up here, though.
It's definitely looked fun out there, Cody. Congrats on the stage win, man. But, you know, we haven't seen the third lane work too much as those tires were in. Do you feel like it's the tire wear, or is it not really going to work too much tonight at all?
I really just don't think it's going to work too much tonight. I just don't see the outside working. If we see anybody going 3 wide, it's going to be up through the middle. like late in the race, and that's when I think we're gonna get a lot of cautions. Is when people realize it's go time and they know they can't make time up on the outside because it's just kind of impractical here.
Well, Cody, we're getting ready to go back Green Flag Racing. Congratulations on becoming the Moarcast stage winner, and hopefully we'll talk to you at the end of the night.
Yeah, thank you.
As we get ourselves prepared for more racing action, Cody Reed going to be starting on the outside. Joshua Kanata does not pit. He stays out. And this is a gutsy call from the 16 machine. Going to be on much older tires than the rest of the field. We just heard about how these trucks are starting to feel loose. What is Kanata going to have on this restart, being the lead driver? As pace car's off, it's time for the careful I don't have insurance 225 presented by Moarcast, as we are back to Green Flag Racing. The 16 gets the better launch, but it's going to be the outside better collected with one another as we send it into turn number 1.
Man, oh man, very interesting strategy called by the 16. We'll see how this works out for him, Sam. But here comes Cochran with the new tires along with Cody Reed. They're going to look to the outside. The 16 has no help as the 10 leaves them also.
Everyone trying to get away from Joshua Kanata, who took the early advantage of just leading a lap and taking that bonus point. But was it worth it? Because he's just not able to stay fully up to speed because of the older tires. Everyone else can keep it full throttle. Kanata's dropping back as Danny Cochran's back to the point. Cody Reed, he's got the hard decision. Does he stay low with Cochran or does he move up as Vincent Sora is back in the mix? The 15 being pushed by Christopher Norris.
Big shove from the 38 there, but we're wrecking off a 2.
Big contact, and his playoff drivers involved. Joshua Freed, as well as seeing a few others trying to slow down, but not the case, as our first on-track incident brings out a yellow.
Oh man, some playoff contenders involved in this one, and right here gonna definitely hurt some trucks because you don't want that aerodynamic damage. Or Morales there going around. I think that was on the restart, wasn't it, Sam?
That was on the restart. He'll take the toe to pit road. Just a little bit of complication. The actual incident was going to be this one, with seeing Freed Ferraro getting close with one another. I believe that's Dakota. Yeah, that's Dakota Moniz watching out for the teal, red, and white machines. As looks like the 34 just snaps loose, gets into Freed, who comes back up into Garcia, and that's not a safe coming up into the field. Gets a couple of drivers scraped up, bringing out our second caution of the day.
Just a little bit loose there, like you said, Sam, and went around and just not the safest of rejoins back to the track. Just probably couldn't keep that truck down there, and everybody involved in that one there. But Mar Morales definitely enjoying that, allowing him to get caught back up after that spin off the start. But these tires, I mean, the guys talking about being a little bit loose in, and even, you know, on the long run like that, I imagine these cars probably take off even pretty loose also. So it's definitely made these things a little bit interesting for these restarts.
Very interesting on the restarts, and I think almost every driver that said take 2 tires can enter pit road, and also this helps out for Joshua Kanata to get his service done and try to get back marched up with his teammates or alliances if possible further back in the field, as all the drivers lined up and ready to get back to Green Flag Racing. And because we're under yellow, allows us time to say thank you to the sponsors here for the ISRC Truck Series. Season 6 has been an amazing season to watch, seeing all the drivers coming back and giving us great racing action. And a sponsor that's been here for the longest time, it's Larry Art Productions, our title sponsor for the ISRC Truck Series. If you head on over to YouTube or Instagram, check out some great comedy and variety YouTube videos for your enjoyment. Great entertainment you don't want to miss. Larry is always hilarious to watch what videos he combines with racing. You do not want to miss it. Again, on YouTube or Instagram, look up Larry Arts Production. As well as thank you to Hot Lap Threads for being the qualifying grid sponsor. Again, if you're looking to get some great racing apparel for tees, hoodies, hats, and more, head on over to hotlapthreads.com to get yourself looking just as slick as the cars on track. And thank you to our Moarcast stage winner. Again, that's Cody Reed here tonight. But if you want to check out more from Moarcast, who also is sponsoring tonight's race, head on over to @Moarcast on Instagram for a variety of NASCAR content, including diecast, memes, and iRacing. Also check out Moarcast on YouTube for diecast reviews, NASCAR discussions, and more. Thank you to all the amazing sponsors that help out with the ISRC Truck Series, to allow us to be your broadcast team here for every single season so far. Zach, playoff racing, a couple of those drivers get involved. This certainly is going to change maybe some mentalities. We're not even at a point where this race, we've got 100 laps to go. We're just outside of that window. They still have a lot of racing. Surprised on how aggressive they've been willing to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Sam. I think it's easy when you're in the the driver's seat, especially because now the stage is out the window. It almost feels like you got some major part of the race done. But personally, there's still a long way to go. Like you said, it's still over 100 laps here, and the aggression has already picked up to a level that I think can only bowl over and continue to lead to possible incidents. So we'll see who's involved in the next one. But I don't think it's the last time we talk about a playoff driver being involved in a wreck tonight.
I don't think so either. And with the time of that yellow and able to avoid incident, John Forbes is now down to just 2 laps down. He needs a couple of more yellows to get back into the mix. But up front, it's the teammates. Danny Cochran, Vincent Sora, the lead drivers as they enter the restart zone. We're back to green flag racing for Danny Cochran. Great launch for himself. Where will he place himself, though? As it looks like the teammates will get in line on the inside.
That's what the teammates want to do, get lined up together. Now Cochran and Sora stuck together bumper to bumper. We'll see what does Reed do. He's the third car in that line, but it looks like his teammate, Christian Norris, will be the one making the move to the outside, but he's going to try to have the help, it looks like, of Ali Fonseca and maybe Ethan Smith.
Also starting to see our lead pack all willing to take off immediately as our top 9. Everyone else, though, trying to slot themselves in a better position as Vincent Sora goes up with the block over Christopher Norris. Cody Reed doesn't want to follow. We'll go 3 wide in the sucker bowl. It's the 2 machine. Brushing the walls, Ethan Smith, but Sora to the point. Reed leading the inside groove as they were getting mixy up front, and Danny Cochran gets slotted all the way back to 6th position.
Wow, from the lead to 6, but Cochran was able to luckily slide up to the top side, so that third truck up there is now Sora drops down low. As you can see from Cochran's point of view, it's the likes of Ethan Smith here. The drivers up ahead are really starting to dice it up.
And trying to figure out what moves are viable to use now, and maybe you're going to have to use later on here tonight, as now it's going to be Christopher Norris leading that outside groove, Vincent Sora on the inside, and Christopher Norris, winner of this inaugural race, all the way back in season 3. When they first tried this course and won his very first race in this series, and Christopher Norris hoping for similar luck here tonight, but the teammates that he was working with to help them get that win, not up front. They're all still scattered in the middle of this pack.
That they are. His teammates a little bit scattered for sure. He's got luckily Cody Reed right there with him, so those two have somewhat, got together, so to say, but we'll see what he has here. But right now, being pushed by Fonseca at 38 to the point as he drops down from Vincent Sora.
A huge push from Ali Fonseca puts Christopher Norris in the lead, and Norris will lead this lap as Ali Fonseca looking for some help from the 2 machine behind, as true 2 drivers that usually are working with one another throughout the week during practices. But looking directly behind them in the going to be running in 8th as well in 10th position, Justin Malarkey, Jesse Thornock, they're showing their first signs just inside of our top 10.
That they are showing some life here, and that's what this track will do, man. It opens up opportunities and people find their way into positions. Is there some contact there between the 24 and the 38 out front? And now Fonseca trying to work his way around that 38, but that contact kind of slowed him up.
A little bit of contact up front, but also contact in the middle as Tyler Dangler brushing the outside wall. Luckily able to keep his momentum, but it just looked like a simple expecting the driver to use the apron, did not, and that's going to be tough. Kind of like what we can see at Kansas or at Las Vegas, using the apron is viable. You can use it, but it's the option of the driver on the inside row if they're going to go down the apron, and Ali Fonseca almost trying to muscle that 38 down there to give some extra space for the outside lane.
You see that happen a lot of times. Drivers just assume that driver below them is going to cut that, so to say, apron, and they don't do it, and that person kind of body slams himself. It happens all the time, and you just got to be well aware of where your competition is going to go. Not every time are they going to swing all the way down there, but right now, the 24 is going to nose ahead with the help of last season's teammate, Danny Cochran, right there.
Where will you place yourself currently? It's going to be your top two drivers, Ollie Fonseca, Christopher Norris, getting some major help from two teammates of Danny Cochran and Vincent Sora being the push drivers, and both of them very fast machines from CSR Racing. But where will the extra little bit of speed line up? Currently, everyone is in this lead pack. No one has lost the draft just yet, and they are willing to keep their foot in the throttle. Also, update for Justin Smith, who is currently 2 laps down. So there's a little bit of a battle between the 11 and the 6 on who's going to get the lucky dog, just in case a caution happens. Maybe later on in this run.
Cautions could be at any moment for sure. Is right now that 30 and 24 still side by side, but the good thing about this run here, everybody packed up, and the other battle that we got to think about with Justin Smith and John Forbes is that lucky dog. So, yeah, definitely going to be seeing if Forbes in that 6th and they continue their battles back at the end of this pack. If something happens, they want to be ahead of each other, not involved in it though too, because right now Reed dropping to the inside again, 3 wide here. Vincent Sora in the middle.
Vincent Sora in the middle. I don't think they knew they were 3 wide with the way Danny Cochran dropped down. It hurts the 2, and it's going to drop Danny Cochran to the outside groove. No help, and he's going backwards as Vincent Sora kept his foot in the throttle. No one was giving up their spots, and it's the 2 that gets shuffled back, and he's now going to have to slot back in line. Pretty similar to what happened to Vincent Sora. Just happened to his teammate now, Danny Cochran. He'll have to work his way back up front.
Twice now, Cody Reed has been the driver to make that big move on the apron there in the front straightaway. And I tell you, that is a big move, and it works well. But at the same time, drivers are people that remember those things. They'll say, all right, you're willing to do that to me? Well, later when I get an opportunity to possibly do roles reverse, I'm going to put you in that situation. So it's never good to be that driver, so to say, in the middle of the sucker hole, because you quickly go backwards.
Quickly go backwards, but willing to make those big moves, get yourself in line with your teammate. Cody Reed did not want to just continue to watch his teammate being pushed by Vincent Sora. Instead, the 25 takes that position away, and now we're going to be the lead pusher on the inside row. Ollie Fonseca not really having a lot of help on the outside, kind of just manually keeping his position with some aggressive side drafting through the corners. And the 24 still keeping his position inside the top 5, but for how long? It's going to be the true question for Ollie Fonseca. Is Mason Cassidy going to fall in line and try to work with his teammate now?
Will Keith and Cassidy get up to the 24 and help him? Because, yeah, like you said, the 24's been side drafting really hard and pulling this line kind of back. But now Christopher Norris and Cody Reed have pulled ahead and cleared that side draft. They've got clear track, but it looks like now the outside line is starting to reform as that inside stacks up just that little bit. So just as Atlanta looks like it's starting to spread out a little bit up front, that 24 fights back around the outside.
And Zach, we are mere moments away from having all of Cochran Sora Racing in line. There's just one driver splitting them up. That's Aaron Kralik, as Vincent Sora, Danny Cochran, and almost about to be Cedric Hunter about to be in line in the middle of this pack. And if they all 3 get in line, they might do a similar move that Cody Reed did, but this, instead of just doing it by yourself, might have a little bit of draft help. As see deeper in the field, a little bit of action going back and forth, but as Kralik moves up, all 3 drivers are now in line for that CSR team.
Exactly, our teamwork is going to be key here for this inning of this race, and if you get lined up and organized, it allows you to be that much more prepared for things. But Fonseca has been on to take the lead, and now even Cassidy leads the outside line as the 24s drop down. So showing the 2 different who out front, but it looks like the 30 at Christopher Norris for a moment. I thought he was going to look to the inside. I don't know if he kind of not meant to get there, so he kind of lifted and let the 24 back in, because it looked like he was going to get to the inside of the back straight.
Starting to see a little more movement as well as 74 moves up, but the lead pack got some new drivers leading the inside and outside row. You have Ollie Fonseca in the 24 leading the inside row, and Mason Cassidy, the leader at this moment. A driver really good at short track, super speedways. He's gotten better each and every time we head to those courses. A dirt track specialist, moving on over to the ovals, and we've seen a lot of growth from this 17 machine. Making the playoffs this season was a massive boost for Mason Cassidy. He's had a total of 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, and comes in with a pretty big confidence boost with the way that he's been running for these last couple of races coming into the playoffs. Cassidy, he could be our sneaky underdog story and under the radar driver to watch out for in that yellow machine.
That he might be, and I tell you what, we got Bristol next week, short track, so we'll see what he can do there. Looks like a big shove coming from that outside line, even too, from that 73 to the 99 of Ethan Smith. So, like for a moment there, that they're going to go forward, but Ethan Smith there kind of blinks out for a second.
Quick blink, and that's a scare when you are in the middle of a corner and you just gave massive push and that driver disappears. You don't know where they are. They could have fallen back. They could be inside of your truck or right where you left them. You never really know. Those little fright moments can get quite spooky at times as they stay side by side. Ollie Fonseca, Mason Cassidy, and starts Ethan Smith, Justin Malarkey. I mean, when we talked to Cody Reed at our stage break, talked about how he won the stage, but at the end of the race, he wasn't a factor in it. One of the drivers that was a factor was Malarkey, who made his way through the incident. And the driver that won that race ultimately is leading this race right now. But I think some drivers might be thinking tonight, it's that redemption race. I didn't win at Daytona, but I could possibly win here this evening.
You're exactly right, Sam. They take what regrets they had there and try to bring them here and fix those regrets, because they feel like this could be their other opportunity for the rest of the season. So a lot of drivers coming here, this is kind of like, their championship race, so to say. So we'll see who's willing to put the risk out there for it, because we definitely got a few knockout guys up here.
Drivers are going to be ramping up and taking their way through tonight's race. It's been a pleasure to give you all the coverage. But for us here tonight, we are going to step away for our first commercial break of the evening. You won't miss a thing as we will go side by side. When we come back, it's time about who's entering pit road or who's staying out a little bit longer. We'll be back right after this for more coverage of the Careful I Don't Have Insurance 225 presented by Moarcast here for the ISRC Truck Series. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up in the booth, Zach Hall, and running productions, as always, is Robert Moyer Jr. You're watching the ISRC Alera Productions Truck Series Season 6 playoff race number 1 for the round of 16. Only 2 races will be ran this round before we cut it down to 12. This race is crucial. We've had one incident that brought out a yellow besides our stage yellow at the end of lap 30, but it's been pretty equal. Everyone staying side by side and just continuing to run in pace until they need to come into pit road. And right now, Zach, I mean, we were touching on it a little bit under our commercial break. It's going to be difficult to make passes, but pit stops, I think, might be the key thing to watch out for here.
That is very, very true, Sam. The pit stops are gonna have to be well timed and well executed. Oh, I don't know who had that mistake behind his back. Looks like the truck went off. I don't know if it was Tyler Horn, actually. Yeah, in the 26, he loses a bunch of time back there. Something happened to him. But yeah, these pit stops are going to be very critical because one thing I want everybody at home to know: if you've paid attention in NASCAR this season, they moved that pit road to where you have to commit going in the 3 on the inside apron. That is not here in iRacing. We pit off the exit of turn 4. And with it being a double file pack like this, Sam, this is going to be, I mean, it's going to have to be well orchestrated for everybody. And everybody has to give a good heads up to each other that they're going to be pitting.
Yeah, or you just drop to the end of the line and hopefully you find a spot to just drop in line with someone as these drivers continue to go back and forth for the lead spot between Mason Cassidy and Ollie Fonseca. But also the thought of who wants to make that pit stop first. I know another thing we were touching on was fuel saving. How much do drivers want to save fuel to stretch it to that, marker that maybe drivers have circled in their brain that we can make it from here? But do you want to pit sooner, later? The tires seem to be way more important. As we saw at the start of our, after our stage was over, Kanata was on 30-lap old tires compared to the rest of the field, and he dropped back quickly compared to everyone else.
That they are. It shows you, the fall off in the time has not been that drastic, but when you're wide open almost around a lap, if you have to bleed the throttle and fully lift, it shows big when the tires start to wear. So a couple tenths of a second difference can make a big difference around a super speedway style race like this. And that's what we're starting to see is, this is the farthest we've been all night on tires, 37 green flag laps. Well, a few of those we do have to caution, but definitely the most green flag laps we've seen tonight. So it looks like Ferraro
slams the wall off the exit of turn 4 as he is stalling out the outside group. That's that darker teal machine. As we are just joining us, there is about 13 drivers running Cody Reed-themed schemes, the Cod Monster machines. They're all in separate, different colors. But there are some that they're close. Danny Cochran, Ryan Ferraro, both in teal. Just the darker teal is Ryan Ferraro, who just slammed that wall. And looks like he's still at full pace. Luckily, didn't hit the wheel well, but obviously that's going to hurt him later on here tonight, as luckily he's still in the pack.
Biggest thing you got to think about is in the pack and in the draft. So definitely doing a good job there. As I said, Marky was taking a look where either got a little tight. Sometimes you can look like these drivers are making a move to look to the outside to get a run. And they just get that little bit of aero tightness, and that truck runs up the hill as it just doesn't want to turn. That sensation. So you're definitely, I think, starting to fight that more and more as this run goes on. And maybe if you felt like you saved a little bit of tire, you may have a little bit more maneuverability here, and as we get farther into the green flag run, we could start to see a little bit of less of this double file action and maybe a little bit more single file, and I think passing would be more available if we had more single file.
And Cody Reed's kind of already given us the blueprint of how to establish yourself and go for big passes on the front stretch. You have to dive right into the apron and try to force the driver that you're trying to get by up the track and make it go 3 wide. That's kind of the blueprint these drivers are going to have to make if you want to make passes to go forward, unless you find someone else that's willing to shimmy around. Maybe if they're on the inside row, they move up. That gives you a position to slot forward, but there's not a lot of openings we've been seeing here tonight. Everyone's keeping it pretty close as we are officially past the halfway of tonight's race. We're into the second half of tonight's run, and pit stops anywhere from the next 10 to 20 laps. We're expecting stops, but why not now? It's the big one. It strikes off a 4. Everyone's piling in, and it goes from safe to drama. The leader gets spun, and it's chaos for the majority of our playoff contenders.
Oh, man, that was huge. There's it all just happened off a 4. I believe it just came off a bad bump from the front bumper of the 99 to the back bumper of the 17, and I think it was just a little bump that ran him up the hill. It's actually, sorry, I think he just got loose a little bit here on the entry. I think when we'll see here, this 17, he's getting pushed by the 99, but right there he gets a little bit free, and that freeness pushes him back into the 99 with a bump from the bumper, and then the 99 could never just really get off at that point, and the 24, Fonseca, takes the heaviest hit of them all, and included a few others coming through. As it looks like, I can't believe tell that's Cochran or I believe the 34.
And it's going to be Ollie Fonseca. Required damage for the 24. He is forced into pit road. Everyone else, though, they're going to make this stop. And the timing of this yellow, Zach, this is right outside the window from everyone being able to make it. This is going to turn this race maybe into a slowdown period as you see drivers trying to get through this chaos, but just almost impossible to do so. It's right on board with Ethan Smith as he closes up in on the gap and trying to let off the throttle, but it's so difficult to do so as you see the 17 snaps loose, and there's the bump, and away he goes.
These trucks were definitely starting to be a handful, and you can see it stacked up. I mean, even if Ethan Smith slows down, Malarkey's on his back bumper, so really nothing the 99 could do. It's just the 17 was kind of losing the truck as he was going up the racetrack. And look at Malarkey. I mean, he just barely gets through there. It looks like it's going to be John Forbes who takes a heavy hit there in the 11. Just his night continuing to not be great.
Yeah, for John Forbes, it continues to get worse because he was in line to get the lucky dog, but it will not go to the 11. But the 11 of John Forbes might be going with the strategy call of staying out and going for the wave around. As see Danny Cochran, he's parked and hoping drivers don't make contact with him. As majority of the field going to come into pit road, get service done. And the 11 looks to be trying to take the wave around, hoping for a quick caution as well for the 6 of Justin Smith, as they'll both be just banking on another quick yellow to get one of their laps or maybe 2 laps back for themselves.
That they will be in. Well, what a wreck that was right there. It just shows you the possibilities, especially when a wreck happens up front. It could have been even bigger than that, Sam. So we had a bunch of people involved in it, but it could have been much, much worse in my opinion. It looks like a few guys taking the wave, and I believe one of them was John Forbes and Justin Smith. So both of them get back to 1 lap down.
1 lap down for the both of them. They'll continue their race of who's going to get the lucky dog spot. Ollie Fonseca still in pit road after that brutal hit, after being clipped and sent to the outside wall, losing the front end. I think there might have been engine damage to the 24 machine, who entered tonight for Ollie Fonseca 5th in points, but only a 13-point buffer to work with over the rest of the field. Luckily for Ollie, he has led a lap, so there's a bonus point there. Was running well at the end of the stage, so there's some extra bonus points, but a good finish here tonight looks to be out of the cards for the 24.
He may go to Bristol next week with his back against the wall, knowing that he might have to have a very good performance, if not a victory. So love to see how the points do shake out with it all here, but definitely not what Fonseca wants to be, is sitting on pit road with a destroyed race truck right now. Looks like Reed's going to inherit the lead here at their pit road and pit stops now. Christopher Norris up the 2nd. Look at Jesse Thornock up the 4th, and Justin Malarkey in that 3rd spot. So we got quite the group.
I'm also looking at 5th, 6th, and 7th. Those are playoff contenders that are running up front now as the green flag is out for Cody Reed for the Careful I Don't Have Insurance 225, presented by Moarcast here in Atlanta. The first race of the round of 16 is back underway. Fresh tires for majority of the field, expecting some big moves as looks like Talmadge, he thought about getting under Malarkey because Malarkey doing a little bit of blocking between both of those lanes as he runs and moves up to the top.
Malarkey make a move, but look at Christopher Norris. He says he sees the door opening with his teammate. He leaves Malarkey on the dry, gives the big shove to that 25 of Cody Reed, but they're getting loose all around here.
As Cody Reed, Christopher Norris right back to being in tow. Malarkey, Thornock, and GT Irizarry on the outside looking for some help, but almost some bad bumps to the 73. That outside lane's got to be careful because new drivers being the leaders and pushers. That's some positions that some of these drivers haven't been all night long, and one bad bump can go awry as the 20 trying to set up the pass in the bumps right in the middle of the corner. That's a dangerous place to be placing it. But Jesse Thornick recognizing he needs to make these bumps if he wants to make this lane go forward.
He's definitely getting aggressive with the bumps. He's got the 14 GTRs already right behind him also. But right now, Thornick all over the neck lid of this 73 of Moarcast, and they're willing to risk it right now. They have nothing to lose, so to say. And right now, they are flying down the backstretch.
Making things work, and now going to be in line. Now going to be side by side for second, to the door for the leader. And Moarcast is trying his best to get a lap led. And again, a lot of these drivers that are not running for a championship run in the playoffs still have a little bit of incentives. They're running for the best of the rest. So everyone running for some big points, and having that incentive kind of changes some drivers' mindsets of, yes, I know you're running for a championship, but I'm running for my own. And that kind of takes away that, hey, I'm going to give you space mentality that most playoffs give.
I love it. I love that addition. Great job by ISRC admins to add that, because you definitely want these drivers still fighting here and something to gain for them. And right now, Moarcast, Thornick up top, willing to risk it right now with that 14 GT Rosario as they are fighting this outside.
Fighting and trying to move forward, and now it's going to be the inside row. Majority of them in line. Third driver, though, on the outside. That's Dakota Moniz. Dakota entering into tonight, tied with 11th in points. Didn't get any bonus points entering the playoffs, but Dakota's this season for himself. 0 wins, 0 top 5, just 1 top 10. The 5 could really become the Cinderella story with a good finish here tonight, and also with the nickname of Mr. Restrictor Plate. The 5 could be a big driver to watch out for, because he was the driver that won the very first Talladega race all the way back in season 1.
He's been known to do it, man. He's very good at drafting. I've seen the 5 myself. I've raced with him, and he's just got a knack for getting himself in the right positions and being there at the right time, missing the wrecks. And you know, that's kind of what Atlanta's about too. This is a race of attrition, you know, way more in my opinion than Daytona or Talladega, because it's so much easier to get caught up into something with just the close width of the racing. And right now, Moniz in position to get a great finish.
On the apron is going to be Mason Cassidy, letting the field drive on by as the 17 is 2 laps down, dealing with some heavy damage as Cassidy was leading this race. In the blink of an eye, brings out our first big one of the evening. But is there even a bigger wreck that's looming around? I know all drivers are kind of scared for once the white flag is thrown. I mean, Zach, yourself, you found yourself winning one of these Atlanta races in WSSR on Wednesday nights that we cover. It's one of those things with this track. You never know when that last lap comes around. This is that waiting period that everyone hates.
You know, personally, Sam, when they first announced this racetrack, I was so against it because I just love the old configuration, the old version of it. Then we came here, my first 2 races I ran here, I won. So I kind of have a new love to this place, because it really is a challenge that I think a lot of people don't understand. Is it really adds a little bit more into the driver's hand with it being in the tighter confines of a mile and a half instead of 2.5 miles. So it really gives more options to a driver, in my opinion, to put his fate or so, or his destiny in his hands. And it's definitely showing right now as they're getting single file. I think right now, interesting, drivers thinking about strategy, maybe thinking about saving a little tire, because they know, hey, we got a long way to go. Let's just kind of ride this thing out. No reason to get caught up in a big wreck like we have.
Currently, drivers that are out of this race still in pit roads. Ollie Fonseca trying to get repairs done, and Mason Cassidy is the first driver officially out of this race. There are a few drivers deeper in the field dealing with some major damage. Ryan Ferraro being the major one. He currently has no front clip for the 34, back in 21st position, but there's some other playoff drivers that are just lingering in the back, waiting to make the pounce. I'm looking at Nick Crawford in 20th, Danny Cochran in 18th, as well as Joshua Kanata in 16th. There's some playoff drivers that are just looming as Ferraro loses the rear end. The 34 hard collision. There's no oncoming traffic that's off the track, and Ferraro most likely going to have to take it to pit road.
Definitely a big scare there for him, is that front end already gone from that race truck, so that's only going to continue his woes for tonight, and he'll have to bring that, like you said, most likely that truck to pit road, because he's definitely got a little bit of a problem.
major problem for that 34 machine as he'll make that stop, but trying to make their way forward. There's the two of Danny Cochran currently just lingering in the back. And, you know, looking at drivers that are further on back, we've already seen during stage one and after the stage was over, the type of racing when we get too wide, it's so difficult to make passes. I'm curious on the fact that these guys are staying so far back, knowing how important track position is. They're not really putting any pressure on, but it could be for the two, still lingering with some optional damage that's holding them back.
Very well could be. It looks like a little bit of damage still on that truck. He got ran in the back of on that wreck. So it looks like they got it cleaned up a good portion of it for him, but still probably dealing with a little bit. But probably right now just biding his time. And even with the way this played out, you know, if you could go upwards of 65 laps on a tank of fuel, that's what you would need to do here. And really it'd be about 63 green laps you need to do. So we could be looking maybe these drivers maybe fuel saving just a tiny bit here, just riding on the bottom here, or you just lifting.
It could be lifting. I think I'm also looking at the lap times they're putting down. I feel like if they're in a fuel saving mode, they're still running pretty aggressively with these times. It could be just due to the fact that they're in line with one another. I know for Cody Reed, Christopher Norris, they're not in a save mode. They are still very much full throttle, snaking, pumping on the straightaways. But everyone else giving each other plenty of space, letting the draft kind of pull them along as you see all the Cody Reed machines running around. But I wanted to give note to the 00 of Thomas Green. He's kind of running a special scheme here tonight with it being at Atlanta. With Thomas Green running in 17th, he's running an Olympic Atlanta scheme for tonight. As some drivers like to pick a scheme that fits the race, as the 00 is doing here this evening.
Very cool to see that. There's be cool to, you know, go to an Olympics that it's been there in Atlanta before. So that's definitely a cool throwback there for him. So right now, seeing if he can march his way back up there, because Thomas Green, you know, started fourth and was up in the mix early, but right now kind of mired back in the middle of the field, like we said with Danny Cochran. And like you said, Sam, I'm either questioning if they're saving fuel and, you know, the likes of Reed and Norris and Christopher Norris are just pulling them around. Everybody else is kind of saving fuel off the front group, or are we just seeing them kind of ride and just let it play out for a little bit and just log those laps? Because sometimes the driver, that mentality is, you know, hey, I can go up there and race for the lead, but I can easily be Ali Fonseca right now, also sitting in pit row who will lead this race.
These drivers continue to pace around. A fun thing for the playoff drivers, and 16 drivers made the playoffs, and entering in tonight, drivers were asked by the admins of, hey, what was your confidence coming into the playoffs, and what was your confidence level for making the Elite Eight, even just getting to the halfway point, not even making it to the Final Four? It was interesting to look. There were about 8 drivers with high confidence that they were going to be able to make it to the Elite Eight. 4 had a medium sense of confidence for themselves, and 4 drivers had the least amount of confidence. They didn't feel like they had a chance to make the Final Four. And those, I mean, the Elite Eight, excuse me, those 4 drivers being Joshua Kanata, Joshua Freed, GT Rosari, and Aaron Kralik. You look at where some of those 4 drivers are running right now. Hey, I think this is a good point so that it could be setting them up at least to make it to the round of 12. Who knows, they might shock themselves and aim for the Elite Eight.
That's for sure. Exactly. So, I mean, some of those guys are right up in the mixes. Oh, he had a big moment there. Christopher Norris in the 38. He had a big wiggle as he gathers it up toward the center of 3 and 4. But definitely a good points night for a few right now. But it can quickly change. Nothing is settled yet because we still have a long way to go here at Atlanta. It seems like anything can happen around the next corners here. Zari now has jumped out to the outside. He's got the likes of Cedric Hunter, who's found his way up here.
And Cedric Hunter, the main factor with that season 3, or one time that we ran here in Atlanta, pushed Christopher Norris to the win on the inside and allowed Christopher Norris to beat Cody Reed. At the time, they weren't teammates. They are now for the 38 and the 25. But seeing 2 pink machines, they could be the changing factors of tonight's race. Cody Reed leading this race, and that Hello Kitty number 7 just lingering on the outside groove.
Just lingering, like you said, they're just trying to find his way. And we heard Cody Reed talk about the outs, the third lane. He's just not had anything all night long. So I'm not surprised to see him running anybody at 10 points. So We'll see if anybody makes those middle moves, such as Cody was saying, where we go down the back straightaway and just kind of force your way through the middle. But right now, everybody's still being pretty cautious with that and just staying too wide for the time being. But at some point, push is going to come to shove, and drivers are going to start to make those moves that could possibly bring out that next yellow.
Well, we are inching closer and closer to lap 100. We're going to take our final commercial break of the night. When we come back, we're going to be sending you to the end of tonight's race. Who will be winning the first race of the playoffs? Will it be one of our top 16 that will lock themselves into the round of 12? Or could it be someone else trying to steal the show? We'll be back right after this as we go side by side for the Careful I Don't Have Insurance 225 presented by Moarcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up the booth, Zach Hall. Running productions, as always, is Robert Moyer Jr. And you're watching the ISRC Alaria Productions Truck Series Season 6 Playoffs. It's the round of 16. First race of 2. And tonight's race is sponsored by Careful, I don't have insurance. 225 presented by Moarcast. Currently, all drivers have been calming down, taking it easy. There's been a little bit of side-by-side race, and you just saw under our side-by-side commercial break. But it's been Cody Reed, Christopher Norris, the lead drivers. A little bit of a spook with GT Rosari a few laps ago. But Zach, we are in the zone. Tires are falling away. Even if you're protecting your fuel and saving, this is the danger zone we've been seeing a lot of our cautions pop up at.
That we have, and it's starting to get in that zone where the trucks are getting a little bit free, starting to step out from these drivers. They got to be on top of them. And right now, I've seen a few fighting the wheels, so that outside line deteriorated with GT Rosari there having his moment as Cedric Hurd leads that outside line for the time being. But Cody Reed, Christopher Norris, right now, really in control and dominating this race.
They have been the lead drivers, and this is giving almost shades of the way Daytona ran back at the start of the season, where it was Snowy Desert Racing dominating. Cody Reed was the lead driver. He had John Forbes behind him, and then it was Christopher Norris. The big thing that changed, though, was coming to the white flag. Christopher Norris and John Forbes were moving away from their team at Cody Reed. They weren't willing to push him. I'm curious if there's been a team change on that mentality, or is it all for yourself because it's the playoffs? Hey, sorry, might have helped you to get to this position, but I got to make the big move to win.
That's going to be the big question, because you know the likes of both these drivers out front, Christopher Norris this season, not had the greatest of runs. He's really, I think, been down on himself after such really great improvement the last few. I think this one's been a kind of a down season for him. He's definitely looking for a win, but he also got his teammate Cody Reed right in front of him, who he knows he wants to help win a race on an oval for the first time. So it's one of those situations where Norris is going to be questioning things, and it comes down to this at the end. But I think he's got to look even behind him. Jared Talmadge, he's going to want to make a move here. If he can go out and win this race from that 16th position coming in here in the playoffs, that is going to be a huge story.
Jared Talmadge pointing his way into the playoffs. He had the least amount of starts of any driver entering the playoffs with only 7 races, and he just made it into our top 16. He had probably one of the best runs ever. You thought, in the past, it had been Thomas Green that was kind of the favorite driver of that duo of Thomas Green and Jared Talmadge, but Talmadge was the one that had the better consistency this season and got him into the playoffs. But then behind him is the 01 of going to be Aaron Kralik. Kralik wrecked out in the middle of last week's race and had all of his fate in the hands of other drivers having misfortunes, not running well. The 01 made it into the playoffs by 1 point. He is so lucky to be in this position, and right now runs in 4th in a solid spot to even win this race and move on to the round of 12.
That's the crazy thing about racing, man. Anything can happen. You can make it in by 1 point to make the playoffs. You can be very well in the final 4 fighting for a championship. It just comes down to execution and being consistent when it comes down to these races. And right now, Atlanta has been kind of a mixed box with people up front and farther back, who have had great seeding coming into this race. It's opened the door for a lot of these drivers. But someone like, Aaron Kralik and Jared Talmadge at GT Rosari, they're looking to knock that door down.
I've been entering here tonight. You had Jared Talmadge, Dakota Moniz, Eric Kralik, GT Rosari outside of our top 12 entering tonight. And right now, all running inside of our top 10, having incredible runs for themselves. Our top going to be 7 are drivers that are in the playoffs, having the runs that are necessary to set yourself up perfectly for next week at Bristol, because even if you survive tonight's race, you have a good finish here this evening. Next week doesn't get any easier as our leaders catching up to lap traffic. It's going to be Justin Smith staying low, and the rest of the field has to scatter to get by the 6th machine as each lap ticks away. This is going to be it, Zach, coming up to 25 laps to go here tonight.
So we get down to crunch time now. Do they have the fuel to make it is my question, or do they have to hit pit road? I think everybody, the reason why, Daytona or Talladega, you would hit pit road almost as soon as you can make it, or as soon as you feel comfortable with overtime finishes, just due to the factor of if you do pit, then you can transition to a medium tire where it doesn't matter here. and also the fact that if you pit here, you're going a lap down. This is not a 2.5-mile racetrack. This is a 1.5-mile racetrack. So that time on pit road is, really equated to less time on the track, and you go a lap down, and that caution comes out, you could be trapped.
That whole entire outside lane, though, just disappeared in an instant.
Oh, the record.
We're down to just 3 guys now as trouble for Joshua Freed in the 39. What happened to him back there, Zach?
Looks like multiple drivers there off in the one there got loose. I'm not sure who it started with. It looked like Freed was one of them. But, yeah, if actually first car to get hit was Freed, it was contact from the likes of the 00 Thomas Green. And then from there, the stack up got to Tyler Horn. Justin Malarkey was in it. Samuel Garcia went for a slide, but we stayed green as everybody kept it straight.
Kept it straight. Now our lead pack going to be just 15 drivers instead of the top 20. We'll lose a couple. It's Freed, also Garcia and Kanata going to be falling back, as well as Malarkey and Horn. Left up front, it's our top 15. Still being led by Cody Reed and Christopher Norris, but that outside row with the less drivers in line, it's now influenced the 7 of Cedric Hunter, the 20 of Jesse Thornock to try to make their way forward. The one driver I've got circled on the inside to watch out for, that's the 10 of Jared Talmadge. He's been watching the aggressive racing from the 30 of Christopher Norris and the big moves from Cody Reed. I think Talmadge has been waiting for the big moves to be made, as he's now watching the trouble in his mirror of drivers making contact with one another.
Cedric Hunter made the big move. He got pushed by Thornock up to 4th. He saw the gap, and I think I got to applaud Cedric there. That's a great call to jump down to this inside, because right now this is the farthest we've been on tires, and you can see it's starting to single file out. Handling is becoming a factor, folks, and if you can get your truck, just get those spots and get up 1-2 positions and find a hole to get into, you need to get down there and get into that position, because you got to take the spots while you can and then find the next run you can utilize.
And if you're on the outside, like a Tyler Dankler, Jesse Thornock, you need to get in line quickly and don't lose the draft. That is going to be a big factor. You lose the draft, you lose any chance of trying to get a good finish here at the end of this race, as now almost everyone's in line. Bouncing up now is going to be led by the 91 of Mark Morales Jr. and Jesse Thornock. Thornock's willing to move up to the top, but it just looks like the 20 doesn't have the tires to really make those runs work, as the 6 going to be staying in line of Justin Smith, kind of influencing the 20 machine, who still can't find an opening.
Can't find that opening, Sam, but with the checking up that's happening, he's able to stay somewhat competitive on that outside even without the draft. But it looks like the 6 is blinking out. He almost had a gap to fall in there, but it's been Morales who closes that gap. So right now, everybody trying to find their way to the bottom, but it's Thornock, the man outside.
19 laps to go. Top 15 drivers are in line, staying with this draft currently. Mark Morales will bounce back up to the outside groove. Didn't get the run maybe he was hoping for. He'll stay side by side with GT Rosari, but up front, still Cody Reed, Christopher Norris. They've been the dynamic duo for majority of this race ever since we finished our stage break. Staying in line, willing to work with one another, but again, oh no, trouble! It's Mark Morales into the outside wall. Says they continue to stay pointing straight. We stay green. But frustration for the 91, heavy damage. We stay green with 18 laps to go.
Oh man, what a crazy scene here is unfolding right now, because this has separated our field majorly up, as right now we got a 5-car breakaway back to Vincent Sora in 6th place, who's about 2 seconds behind our leader, Cody Reed.
As Mark Morales will continue to fall back, and now it was a top 15 field, has now split up to our top 5, have their own little gap compared to back in 6th place, where Vincent Sora has assistance with Justin Smith as well as Justin Campbell. We'll see if the Justins can help Sora catch up to our top 5 that are just trying to pull away. But over the radio, drivers are not happy with the feeling of their cars. Jesse Thornock almost spins around with other drivers around him. The tires might be a bigger issue than the fuel at this moment, Zach.
It very well could be, Sam. They have not went this far. This is really the first these drivers have felt these conditions, and anybody who's who's in a position right now to run each other down is liking this, while others are struggling, like Thornock here, who's getting caught by this second pack. But I can tell you what, there's a few other out there that are flying. Vincent Sora in that second group that second group is so much faster than our first group.
The reason why, they've got Justin Smith. The 6 machine has the freshest tires of anyone on track in this lead pack. Over 20 laps. It's 30 lap old tires compared to our leaders, as Vincent Sora has a slight blinking for the 15, but that's 6. Just momentum alone is what pulled this group back up front.
Very well did, Sam. That is great to have in front of you, those fresh tires to pull you along. And it did. It pulled that group right back together. And now Smith looking to the outside of GT Rosario with a big side draft here. That's 6 machine, 4 laps down, being very aggressive.
And there might be even more drivers trying to get collected up in this lead pack. Danny Cochran, Thomas Green, they're bump drafting their way forward. They're about to be catching a little bit of the draft, and they have caught the draft. We're going to have 11 drivers in this lead pack that are on the lead lap, a total of 12 if you count Justin Smith. And Cody Reed, Christopher Norris still lead the way, but when will Jared Talmadge decide to make the big move for the 10 to try to make the winning move? Or will Cedric Hunter make it before then? Who's willing to make the big move? Because, Zach, it looks like the last lap might be the only time you are willing to make that dive bomb move into the apron.
It very well looks like it, and, you know, do we have enough fuel even? You know, I am positive we can get to 5 to go on fuel, but I don't know about after that. You know, from the reading a few drivers gave me, I'm seeing about 5 laps short. So right now, Cedric Hunter jumping to the outside. Looks like Cody Reed, Christopher Norris are coming down the pit road.
Over the radio, pit road for the 19 and others. Our lead pack just dissipate. They're gone. They're into pit road with 12 laps to go. And this is the crucial time. Do not get caught speeding. A black flag ruins your race and you cannot recover from it. 12 laps to go. Cedric Hunter, Vincent Sora, Danny Cochran, they're the lead drivers. Did they save enough fuel, or is a pit stop looming for them? As it looks like for Justin Smith, he'll stay high. But what will the teammate of Vincent Sora as well as Cedric Hunter? They're on the brakes. They're slowing down. It's going to be a pit stop for the 3 teammates up front.
Let's see what the strategy is. We've seen a lot of 2-tire calls from a few drivers. I'm a little concerned with the 2-tire calls, Sam, because you put 2 tires on, that usually makes it a little bit looser, especially 2 right side tires, what I've seen majority of the people do. We already had a loose balance. They could be in for trouble.
Hey, why not? 2 tires is bad. Why not taking no tires? Splash and go for Eric Kralik and Justin Campbell, the first drivers out of pit road for themselves. But exiting pit road, 2 tires again for some of these drivers that are leaving pit road. No one's willing to take 4. First driver to take 4 is GT Rosario, only back in 17th place.
Very well could be that their left sides are just not wearing and the right sides are taking the brunt, and they feel like this should balance the cars out. We'll see how this works, but here we come off of pit road. Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, as everybody's getting up to speed.
Getting up to speed and trying to figure out how you slot yourself up, because our lead drivers are mixed in between those that just pitted. 10 laps to go. Joshua Kanata, Justin Malarkey, and Samuel Garcia still need to make a pit stop, it looks like, but Garcia stays out. Kanata stays out. Into pit road is going to be Malarkey. 2 drivers yet to pit, and they're banking on a yellow. Or did Kanata and Garcia save enough fuel?
That is the question. I think they can make it to 5 to go, or like you said, did they save enough? That's going to be the question. I think for Kanata, the biggest thing for him, he is latched onto the back of this group. If he can get caught up to them, he can even save more fuel, Sam.
And looking at the lap times, I mean, these drivers fell off all the way down to 31 seconds. Was the fastest laps that they were running before the majority of the field hit pit road. Kanata still running in a 30.4 window. He's got a great spot for himself, and he was one of the few drivers that even topped off later in the pit stop run. He was saving as much fuel as possible. Now having the draft, Kanata's big question, is this lead group running too fast for the 16?
That is the huge question. He's able to pull up to him, so this is impressive with these tires. But here he comes to pit road. And I tell you what he did do, Sam, though, if anything, he gained time by doing that. He ran some fast lap times by being behind this group.
And also was able to come in and maybe top off on fuel just a little bit, do a splash and go. But your lead drivers now going to be Christopher Norris on the outside, being pushed by Dakota Moniz. It's Justin Campbell going to be on the inside groove. 7, soon to be 6 laps to go. But the 2 drivers on the inside, they did a splash and go. No tires for themselves. The drivers on the outside, they took 2 tires. Who has the better call and has the tires to hold on as they're catching up to Mason Cassidy, expecting to see 17 stay low on the apron. And for Joshua Kanata, Garcia, they've already been passed by the lead pack.
Tell you, if I want tires, I definitely want 2 of them at least, because 0 doesn't sound like it's going to be very good as well. Horn definitely a little bit loose there coming up to speed, but we're still staying side by side. Campbell is able to fight on that bottom side, and he's doing a great job with it.
And I'm looking through the field, only 2 drivers took 4 tires. That was GT Irizarry back in 14th. He is 10.5 seconds off the lead pack. He's not a non-factor. And then also is Joshua Freed back in 19th, a non-factor. But our top 11 drivers, all in the lead group, all knowing how crucial a win could be. And let's try 3 wide into the wall. It's going to be Sean Hunter. They smash the wall, keep the throttle going. We'll stay 2 by 2. And the 7 somehow has the momentum. And Zach, we've seen this combo before. It's Christopher Norris. It's Cedric Hunter. They're in line with 5 laps to go.
What a move there. Cedric Hunter somehow into the wall after getting some contact from the car below, but he is able to get back down below with the 38 of Christopher Norris. And like you said, this combination won this race before. Let's see if they stick together, because here comes Cody Reed, the teammate of Christopher Norris. You know he's been aggressive all night. He's going to want to get up in the mix.
It just took too long in pit road with Cody Reed, maybe topped off with too much fuel, but the 25 is still in the fight. The question is for the 7, does Cedric Hunter keep with his old alliance, or does he go by a lonesome? He's no longer officially with Snowy Desert Racing, but with 4 laps to go, Christopher Norris leads this race and wants to become the only driver to win here at Atlanta Super Speedway and lock himself into the next round. But there's a lot of other hungry drivers behind him. Also seen Eric Kralik, Justin Campbell. If they win, they're going to be locked into the next round as well.
Everything still on the line here as they cross that start-finish line. 3 laps to go here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Christopher Norris still leading the way. Cedric Hunter had his opportunity to drop low last time, did not take it. We'll see if he takes the next opportunity available.
Top 7 drivers, if any one of them win here tonight, they will lock into the next round of the playoffs. The only 2 drivers in this lead pack, that's Thomas Green, Ethan Smith. If they win, they just take away that auto lock-in. They'll be 3 wide with Smith trying to go backwards. But up front, it's still Christopher Norris crossing the line. 2 laps to go. If they take the white flag, the gloves are off. It's all about who crossed the line first. Norris continues to stay high. He doesn't want to leave the 7th front bumper.
I like that call, because if anything, keep that 7 from clearing that 9. Do not allow that to happen. But right now, the 9 with a surge here into 3 and 4. They're going to be a dead even heat here coming through 3 and 4 now.
Off the exit of turn 4, white flag in hand. This is it, it's official. Who's gonna win here tonight and lock themselves into the next round? Christopher Norris trying to use the 7, but Norris has to block so many different lanes. They're 3 wide behind. It's gonna hurt Cedric Hunter. Justin Campbell, what's the win? They're gonna be 2 by 2, waiting to see who's gonna take the slot. They're wrecking behind, but it's gonna be 3 wide for the lead. Is it Campbell, Norris, or will it be Hunter? On the inside, gonna be seeing Justin Campbell getting pushed by Talmadge. Talmadge is down to the apron, almost gets below, but across the line, it's Justin Campbell. Campbell finally wins.
What a job by Campbell in the position to pull it off. Held him off on the bottom, and I think, like you said, didn't take tires there to get the track position. What a job from Justin Campbell.
So many times he came up second or had a run for a chance to win, and it didn't line up. But in the playoffs, first race, first round, the 9 is locked into the round of 12 with this win this evening. And Justin Campbell can finally take that relief. So many fast cars in the past, and finally he can say he is an ISRC truck winner for the 9 of Justin Campbell.
Man, oh man, everything played out perfect for him there. The drivers jumping to the inside there, making it 3 wide from the second row back, really broke up that 7 and that 38. That allowed Campbell and them to have the great run through 1 and 2, and from there, what a push from the 10. But the 10 tried his move there down into the tri-oval, but just couldn't get it done because the 9 had the run cleared.
He'll enjoy this win as we will find ourselves stepping away. We've got the post-race show for the first race of the playoffs for the season 6. We're going to talk to Justin Campbell, Jared Talmadge, Cedric Hunter, and a spotlight driver right after this. Congratulations to Justin Campbell. Woo, what a win for himself. wide with one another as side-by-side racing continues on. Christopher Norris has been able to move up 3 spots for himself. Dakota Moniz, another driver in the 5 that's moved up 3 spots. And for Dakota Moniz in the 5 machine, this race is so critical because the driver he's runs, Christopher Norris, in all offense incoming contact into the outside wall. Everyone's got to get around. Norris locks it down, but the second pack is rolling in. It looks to be almost contact, and it is. Major one for the second pack. The admins have to throw the yellow, and that will be your first caution of the day.
Oh man, Sam, that was a huge collision. I don't know who caught, hit Norris in that second pack, but it all started up there with Christopher Norris and Ali Fonseca. It looks like coming off of 2, making some contact. I don't know if it was Netco actually. So then when we go back and look at this, you'll see that as they come off the exit of 2 here, it's just going to be a gap between them. Puts Norris up in the wall, and then from off the wall, here comes the 38 down off of it into the 24, who's going to slam that wall off the right front of his truck, and then Norris is locking it down, sliding across. It looks like that was the 14 Arizari and Tyler Dangler.
Tyler Dangler, who was tied in points for the cutoff line. That major damage is going to be critical for himself. Required damage for Tyler Dangler, and that one incident wreck on lap 17 could be the ends and hopes of Tyler Dangler trying to make the playoffs.
Wow, that is so heartbreaking for Tyler, who's had a season of ups and downs and some bright spots. You can see right here for GT.
Already a car length and a half ahead of Danny Cochran and Vincent Sora.
Great start there for John Forbes, but I think down the back straightaway, he's going to find out real quick how strong this draft is here, as the 2 is going to have a massive head of steam here heading down into 3 and 4. What's he going to do with it? He looks to the inside, but the 11 shuts the door. Now the 15 of Vincent Sora, teammate of Danny Cochran's going to look to the outside of the 2.
Trying to bounce to the outside, not able to do so just yet. Gonna have to settle back in line, utilize the draft. Vincent Sora stays high, gives an opening for Cody Reed for a quick moment. Cody Reed backs out for a better option, but John Forbes stays too high, and now the teammates, they'll stay in line on the inside groove. Cochran. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting's post-race show for the ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series. What a run to start out the playoffs here for season 6. As we head to victory lane, we talked to a driver that already now is locked into the next round. We've got Justin Campbell with us. Justin, you've come back. You have had so many moments of what ifs. What if this moment lined up to get in victory lane? But tonight, it finally happens. Congratulations. You are an ISRC Larry Art Productions Truck Series winner.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Got lucky on that pit stop, not gonna lie. I don't know how we got so far out ahead, but just lucky pit stall and all, survived all the carnage and all stuff like that.
Definitely a great call, Justin. I believe you were one of the only drivers to take no tires. So take us through that call, because it seems like a few others were trying to take the 2 tires there to have the little bit extra grip. Did you ever, consider 2 tires?
No, didn't consider 2 tires. Honestly, I don't think it was really worth it, to be honest with you. I rode in the back for most of the race to try and save as much fuel as possible, but I would have been 5 laps short, so I just decided to pit with the front pack.
I mean,
I thought I just put less fuel in them, but I guess not.
I mean, it worked out. It got you and Aaron so far ahead to keep that positioning. I mean, Justin, you came into the night 10th in points. You were searching for that win. You finally take it. You're locked into the next round. I mean, what are you? How has it been this season? Like I said, you've had so many close moments of potentially getting a win. What is it like getting this win, and how does this change your mentality going into next week at Bristol?
Feels great, and I feel confident going in next week. I don't really have to worry about much of anything, really, and just go for stage points and just still rack up good finishes, but don't have to worry about anything else for the next 2 weeks.
It sounds like it's going to be a fun time for yourself. Justin, congratulations on the win here tonight. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
I just want to thank everybody who helped me get to the front tonight. Just thank you to Aaron for sticking with me, and not Aaron, Dakota for sticking with me for the last few laps. And yeah.
Well, that will be your winner here tonight for Careful I Don't Have Insurance 225, presented by Moarcast, the 9 machine of Justin Campbell, the only driver locked into the next round. Congratulations, Justin. Enjoy this, and good luck at Bristol next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
As we move from victory lane, we head to second place to a driver that almost stole the show, but comes up second. Still a fantastic points day. We got Jared Talmadge with us. And Jared, it's becoming a usual thing to be talking to you at the end of these races. How are you feeling with a second place finish here tonight?
Oh, I'm ecstatic. That was a really good run there to the end, and I didn't think we were gonna make it that far, so I didn't worry really about anything about saving fuel, and glad it turned out that way. But I mean, to have a P2 and I think third in the stage coming out of tonight's race is basically a win in my books.
Definitely a great points night, Jared, for sure. Coming here 16th in the standings. You're probably going to come out here in a pretty good position going off into Bristol next week. But got to talk to you, man, about coming to the white flag there. You're coming to the white flag in the 6th position. I mean, you're the driver that makes the move down there to the apron. Take us through the decision to do that, because it looks like you were the first one to do it, and it definitely paid off.
Well, with 3 to go, I was thinking Aaron would do it off 2 coming to the white, and he didn't. And I saw Vincent jump down behind me in 3 and 4, and I knew Vincent was going to do it, so I just had to block him. I wasn't really going to do it, but then when he jumped down, I didn't want to get put 3 wide middle, and it just kind of worked out. He had to push me, and got up there behind Campbell, and then was kind of had nowhere to go after that, and tried to get his quarter panel off of 4, and I just couldn't get there far enough alongside.
Well, Jared, points just got released. You have now moved up to 7th in points with a pretty good buffer to work with. After tonight's performance, we're heading to Bristol. What's the confidence level for that race? And are you worried at all that, one bad race can knock you out?
Yeah, when I made the playoffs and I looked at the schedule, I had to double check the first 2 races, seeing a plate track and a short track together, and I was like, that's a recipe for disaster for some, top people in the standings, and just really was hoping to come out of here with at least I was hoping 5 above the cut line would have been happy for me, because Bristol's not my best track in the trucks. I've struggled with it. So 11 above is really huge, and I just hope we can have a solid day at Bristol and move on.
I cannot wait to see how you're going to perform next week at Bristol, Jared. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, shout out to you guys put on the broadcast, everyone who runs the league. Shout out to my teammate Thomas. I know he kind of got wrecked there at the end down their back, but he had a pretty good race up until that point, and yeah.
Well, that will be the 10 machine of Jared Talmadge coming away with a 2nd place finish. Congratulations on that, Jared, and good luck next week at Bristol.
Thank you.
As we move down from 2nd place, we head to 3rd to talk to the 7 machine, the Hello Kitty machine, to get his thoughts on that run. Cedric, you had so many opportunities. You were leading one groove, then you were pushing another. How are you feeling coming away with a 3rd place finish? And man, how does it feel to just survive that chaos at the end?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously feels good to get a podium. I hate the fact that the points were just uploaded. I only gained like 3 points or 4 points off of where I was already. So we have like now 7-point lead to the cutoffs, which is not the most comforting feeling considering we're going to Bristol next week. But um, otherwise, I guess our plan of kind of taking it easy at the beginning, and then as the race kind of ramped up, I slightly got more aggressive and tried to lead lines, and then we had, I guess, like chaos within like 10 to go, where I still have to go watch it again because I don't know what happened. All I know is I got slammed into the wall, and I think Dakota got screwed and fell to the back of the field. So, um, somehow I got to Norris's bumper, which for whatever reason at the lane I always do. And I was fully committed to just pushing him there to the win. Like, there was no reason for me to bail out. His teammate was behind me. I knew if I tried to make a move, his teammate would have just probably stuck with him. So, coming to the wide, all I could think of is, Norris is going to owe me a second one, because that would have been the second time in this league I would have pushed him to a win. But, with a 3 wide and all the chaos playing out, we'll take 3rd.
Yeah, definitely to allude to that, Cedric. I mean, you talk about only gaining a few points and, in a few spots to the line, but, coming out of Atlanta here with decent points and not ending up in our wreck race truck, how does that feel, especially with Bristol coming up next week?
It feels good. I mean, we know how much of a wild card super speed racing is, and to come out, on the up and up with the the cutoff is always a good feeling, and then obviously getting a podium is great. I could have used some bonus points, and unfortunately didn't get the opportunity to. I think Norris actually ended up bumping somebody at the beginning of the race, and it kind of caused a massive checkup, and then I lost the draft and really had no help, and caution obviously never came out. So, that cost me a bunch of points, but Bristol should be interesting. We always have decent pace there. I'm intrigued to see if it's going to be, or what kind of race it's going to be. Like if it goes green and it's long runs, I think it'll be really, really good. And if it's just short run and kind of a demolition derby, I mean, that's, fingers crossed.
Well, Cedric, we cannot wait to see how you're going to perform next week. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Shout out to you guys, obviously, for everything that you guys do. Thank you to the admins and the drivers for setting up and coming out on a weekly basis. Thank you to everyone out there watching. Shout out to CSR and my two teammates for having me this season. Fingers crossed we can have a deep run into the playoffs.
We're hoping for the best for you, Cedric. Congratulations on a third place finish here tonight.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
As we move from third place, we go to our spotlight driver, going to be fifth place finisher Christopher Norris, who's going to tie as the biggest mover of the night. Chris, you come into tonight, you were up front dominating with your teammate of Cody Reed, and those last couple of laps roll around. How are you feeling, though, coming away with the top 5 finish at the end of the night?
I mean, I want to say I'm disappointed, a little bit unhappy, but I couldn't really just say I'm only disappointed in myself. But I am looking at the points. They are official. They are pretty well going into Bristol, which I know I can have a pretty good run at Bristol. But still, having 20 points to the line is pretty good heading into the next race.
With you being 20 points up by that, Christopher, do you risk it at Bristol? Do you try to go get that victory to get the bonus points for the next round? Or do you think you go into next week where you sit there and say, hey, I'm just going to take what I can to get through?
I definitely think I put the effort in to do some good laps because, if the wreck is in the middle of the pack, I don't want to be a mid-pack driver and get caught up in that wreck. So I'd rather stay up front as much as possible. Someone gets stage points. If I get stage points, I'm pretty much locked in. I mean, I could be wrong. Depends on how many drivers show up. So stage points is the goal. The rest from there is just to hang on. If I can get that win, that'd be great because I was looking forward to hopefully getting it tonight. My heart was pretty much pounding, but hey, we didn't get it, and there's always next time.
Well, I mean, talking to the end of this race, I mean, at one moment it was yourself and Cedric Hunter in line on the outside. What was going through your mind at that moment when you realized the guy that helped you win the last time we were here in season 3 was right behind you again?
So, I mean, I told him when we were just talking here in the waiting room, it seems like I had trust in him. I would say I had more trust in him than I had no trust because it was about 90-10. 90% of me thought it's Cedric. He'd be the type to sit behind me and push me to the win, teammates or not. So I think he'll do it. 10% was like, nah, if he gets on from his teammate behind, he's going to jump me. That's what my thought was. So I knew I could trust him to the end. I'm a little bit disappointed in the pick I made, though, because I didn't trust him there. But it was my mistake. Usually, I would say, from what I saw, I thought he got pushed out of line. So I thought Cody was behind Aaron. And turns out it was Cody behind Cedric, so Cody was absolutely just shoving the crap out of Cedric. Aaron wasn't doing anything. He was just giving me that little bit of arrow, a little bit of air push, but I had absolutely no help to get a chance to go get it. So it's basically my fault for losing this race tonight.
Well, still a solid day again. Todd is the biggest mover of the night. Norris, before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
Of course, I have to shout out my teammates, Cody Reed, Nick Crawford, John Forbes. Unfortunate for John, for having that issues in qualifying. Should have my own issues out as well, but luckily I was able to come back quicker from it. And also, huge shout out to Nick. He was just like nonstop helping John to try to get back on the lead lap. I think it definitely would have worked. Granted, it played out, but hey, still good finishes, and we're all looking pretty good for the next round. Shout out to my parents for watching the race. They are always supporting and always probably going to come talk to me after this race too. So I'm glad they always do that because it's always nice to have some kind of supporters and someone to talk to the races for in real life. And also Cody's dad. I know he was probably watching the race. I heard he's the GOAT. Can't forget Ollie's grandpa and grandma. I heard they love me. Big fans, big supporters of them. We should have dinner one night. I know where you're at. You guys are having a amazing show, and then as well as the admins, my fellow admins, Tyler Dengland, Martin as well for helping me put on the great show, so we can get penalties out and hopefully keep clean tracks for you guys. One last thing is customlids.com. Get yourself a custom hat like I normally show, but I don't have my cam on tonight.
Well, that will be the 38 machine of Christopher Norris coming away 5th here tonight. Congratulations, Norris, on that finish, and good luck next week at Bristol.
Thank you.
Well, as we move away from our interviews, we get prepared to take a look at our unofficial results here tonight. Big moves all around, but maybe just one, potentially two drivers locked in based off of points. Vincent Sora looks pretty locked in for the next round, but absolutely locked in. It's going to be Justin Campbell with his win here tonight for the round at 12. Jared Talmadge, a solid run for the 10 machine in second. Cedric Hunter going to get third. Fourth is going to be Vincent Sora. And surprisingly, the first Cody Reed scheme going to be 5th place with Christopher Norris. 6th, we find Cody Reed. Danny Cochran 7th. Aaron Kralik 8th. 9th, where Dakota Moniz falls down to. And Ethan Smith will finish our top 10 here tonight.
And as we look through the rest of our finishing order, definitely the ones that stick out to us here that, we're playoff contenders, so to say. And I think a few as such would be, the likes of Nick Crawford back here in 18th. He looks like from the likes of Christopher Norris, sounds like he was trying to help John Forbes' teammate who was 21st there get back on the lead lap from his early disconnect. But the driver who lost out, really the two drivers who lost out the most when it comes to these playoffs is Ali Fonseca and Mason Cassidy, both with terrible finishes and just not a great way for their playoffs to start.
Yeah, terrible finishes, but with how close the points are, they're not out of making it to the next round just yet, as it looks to be the 4 drivers outside looking in. Ollie Fonseca, Dakota Moniz, Joshua Freed, and Mason Cassidy going to be the 4 drivers outside looking in. And Ollie Fonseca just going to be a mere 3 points out from the cutoff line. So next week's going to be crucial at Bristol. And last time we had Bristol as a cutoff race, he put on an amazing show. It wasn't until maybe the checkered flag when we really realized who was in or out. And tonight just makes it even more intense on who's going to be making it to the round of 12. Zach, certainly tonight, a different race than we expected. A lot of trouble in the first half of the race. The second half, though, all strategy of who could hold on and get out of pit road better.
That it was. I tell you, that pit stop was so important how it worked out. So excellent call by Justin Campbell there to not take tires. I think a lot of people were going back questioning, did I make the right call there? Because I could have got the track position that he got.
Was it tires? Was it not? It's all Justin Campbell who's going to take that lead position at the end of the night. But for this week, we find ourselves concluding Monday night. Tuesday and Wednesday still off as they concluded their seasons a few weeks ago. But if you want more racing action this week, we've got you covered on Thursday night. It's when we find ourselves with the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, as those drivers excited for what Thursday's going to bring as they head to Dover for this Thursday. I know those drivers in next-gen cars, Dover has been a tough track for that machine. I think it's going to be an exciting one, Zach, for us to cover on who's going to survive and who's going to close in on that points battle.
I agree. Dover is going to be very interesting to watch, and it's been fun to see the open setups. So Thursday nights are definitely going to be a wild one, and it seems like each week you never know when something around the next corner is going to happen for one of those drivers.
As their season's coming to a conclusion on Thursday nights, they don't have a playoffs. It's all about who's got the most points. They've got 5 races left. And for here on ISRC, we've now got a total of 6 races left before the season is done. Atlanta is done and concluded. Justin Campbell, Vincent Sora look to be locked in to the round of 12. But there are still 10 more spots to be grabbed. Don't want to miss it. Next week at Bristol, the last great Coliseum is going to put on a show. But if you cannot wait for racing action until then, we've got you covered on Thursday night. For us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, and for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us cannot wait for next week at Bristol, as our next Freaky Fast broadcast is going to be Thursday night for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Thanks for joining with us. We'll see you Thursday for our next